Hey, 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 y'all. Ruby Powell-Dennis here. Just checking in to see how y'all are doing today. It is Friday, September the what? 16th. Ah, it's that time of year, y'all, where I wake up and I'm like, okay, I know it's Friday, but I sometimes got to look at the calendar because we are just less than 70 days from Election Day. Um, and if you've run for office, you know this is the time of year where all the days kind of start to run together because you're just working so hard to get to such a big goal. And so it's good to just be with you all. Um, the weather's really nice here in Shelby County. I'm outside, just kind of take some self care, um, getting a little bit. Hey y'all, just waving at some folks who coming by, visiting the office, and just connecting with people. Because, like I said, um, we are counting down the days, and we know that every single conversation matters. And so, just not wanting to miss. I don't want to miss a single opportunity to talk to folks who are, curious about me, curious about what's happening, and curious about why this election matters. So, if you're joining for the first time, hold on, what is this? Oh, okay. We can do two things at once. Okay, I think we're good now. Um, trying to get my light. Y'all, listen, this technology. Anyway, so lots of things are on my heart and mind. One, I woke up today feeling really, really grateful. The last couple of weeks have been really tough. If you haven't been watching the news, paying attention to anything, maybe you don't realize that Memphis and Shelby County, we it's been tough. There's been a lot of loss of life, a lot of struggle, strife, misunderstanding, miscommunication, and overall just has people in a really tough place. But if you also know anything about Memphis and Shelby County, you know that we are a resilient group of folks. They don't call us the grit and grind city for nothing. Because in spite of however hard things might be, we have a deep love and care for one another, a deep affection for our city, for our communities. And we understand that it's not about being perfect because people are not perfect. So places cannot be perfect. Hey, Jamie. Y'all, my cousin Jamie's in the comments. What's up, Jamie? So good to see you. Thank you for logging on. Yeah, I love my family. So I'm going to shout them out every time. Yes. Likewise, I'm going to shout them out every time. Um, but like I said, people were just in a kind of a weird place. And so I woke up this morning grateful. Grateful, one, that, for the gift of life, um, whether we want to acknowledge it or not, regardless of your beliefs or not, COVID is still real. COVID-19 is still out here, impacting people, their families, our healthcare system. And so just, always remaining present to the reality of things. I'm also just feeling grateful that, I was able to hug and squeeze and kiss my babies, go to the little, the tiger family greeting this morning, catch a little bit of that and see all of our young tigers, the future of our country, the future of our city. And then also just grateful that we are at a moment where we can make choices that improve things. I was really inspired by the article Otis Sanford wrote that talked about, it's time to be done with political finger pointing. That just really resonated with me because I tell everybody before I was a candidate, I was a voter. Before I was a candidate, I was a mother, a wife, an administrator, elementary school administrator, living and working and raising my family in District 31. And, you know, if I weren't a candidate, I would still care about the issues I care about because these are my lived experiences as well as the experiences of those around me. And I really appreciated Mr. Stanford's commentary about we have to be willing to do the hard things, even if it's not going to politically benefit us. And that's what I want to talk about today. Tennessee deserves elected leadership that's willing to do the hard things, even when it doesn't personally benefit you. And what I mean by that is there is not a single great leader who we talk about or lift up who did not experience some personal struggle, strife, or just losing something to do the right thing. In the case of Martin Luther King Jr., he paid with his life. His children lost their father. His wife lost her husband. But we gained so much in terms of humanity and our understanding of how important inspiration is and how important it is to have conversations even when they make us uncomfortable. And so, my opponent, Brent Taylor, we're going to go ahead and talk about this money thing because, what I quickly have realized is that, for those who grow up and have successful businesses and accumulate so much money that they can afford to put $420,000 into a campaign. Let's talk about what that means in real Joe Biden economy dollars. $420,000 is enough that buys several houses. That's who wants to be your state senator. Somebody who got enough money to put in a campaign to pay for mail in a place where folk can't even afford a house. And then will have the audacity to say because they are a successful business person that they have some great business insights to offer policy-wise and accountability-wise. But before you get in the seat of power, you ain't too pressed about affordable housing. This stuff matters. When you have communities that are struggling, when you have working class people who are feeling the effects of capitalism and who are feeling the effects of not being able to pay for things, it don't matter who's in the White House. What matters who's in the house next door. What matters is who is in your church, because that's your social safety net. The people who live next door to you in your community, the people who you know through your networks at church. So when you have people who have extreme wealth, because let's call it what it is. In Memphis, $420,000 is considered extreme wealth. Try throwing that money in the air and see what happens. That's wealth. That's real wealth. And so when you have someone who is willing to pay me, someone who comes from a working class background, union families, union endorsed candidate who still works, by the way, still works, got student loan debt, as out of touch. You're running for office to make decisions about how state dollars are going to be used. So sometimes the greatest indicator of a person's beliefs and morality is how they use their own money. Hello, that matters. If it didn't matter, why would we request the tax returns of presidents? Oh, except Donald Trump. Hello. You have to be careful when the wealthy start to feel some type of way when you talk about their money, but they want to make decisions about taxpayer money. Hello. Because the two are not the same. That's why we had 20% of House Republicans in our assembly under indictment. Hello. You see, people will tell you these stories to make it seem like these things are not connected, but in fact, they are. They are connected. That's why it's important you have leaders who come from diverse backgrounds, who are not all men, who are not all white, who are not all old, who have not all gone to SEC schools, who have not all been born with a level of status and privilege. That representation matters. It matters because you tend to reinforce your own biases, whether you mean to or not. Hello. And that's why we go to church every Sunday. At least I do. And my children go on Wednesdays too when I am not available. Because you have to be in a place where accountability does not feel like an attack because you are actually trying to change your behavior. This stuff is serious, y'all. How and what people do with money doesn't just change when it's somebody else's money. And if these things were not true, then why is tithing and giving to the church so important? If these things were not true, why would scripture talk about it if they were not true? And so I say those things to say that even if you are not a person who believes in God, if you are a person who is an atheist, who believes in economies, macroeconomics, you know that how profit is created and moved in our country, it benefits people who extract wealth from the system effectively, and it punishes those who only have labor to offer the system. And so we have to make these connections and talk about them in real ways as candidates, because when you get into elected office, it's too late to then try to figure out, well, how does this person really feel money should be used? And again, I don't preach anything or say anything to anyone that I'm not doing myself. You don't have to just talk. You can let your actions speak. So when I am talking about these things, how a person uses their money, campaign finance, you best believe it is all interconnected. Isn't that why Brian Kelsey is not running for re-election? Because he is indicted for campaign finance. You cannot allow people to say Christianity and money and business success, all of these things. Oh, and by the way, but when I'm in office, my colleagues are under indictment, but I don't have anything to say about their conduct. I don't have any commentary that holds the people in my own party accountable for not testing rape kits, but you're ready to hold me and District Attorney Mulroy accountable. We have to clean up our own house, folks. And that's why diverse representation matters, because no one is perfect. I am not perfect. My opponent is not perfect. But speaking truth to power is not a leadership trait that is only for elected office. And I go back to how I started. We live in a city and in a county where one of the greatest leaders in human rights was assassinated. We live in a city and county where Black men wore "I am a man" pen just to be seen as humans. We live in a time where I am the first generation of African Americans to be fully recognized under the Constitution of the United States as a whole human, thanks to the Civil Rights Acts and Voting Rights Acts of the late 60s. Let's be clear at what's at stake. My opponent is older than I am and knows better than I do what it was like when people of color, marginalized people, and women did not have access. So when someone tells me trusted conservative leadership, my question becomes trusted for whom? Conservative for whom? And leading for whom? I love you, Memphis. I love you, Shelby County. You stay safe, and remember, you deserve good things.